Hi guys, welcome to iDrum magazine. My name is Garvey. In this session we're going to be looking at creating dynamics, controlling dynamics, textures as far as what we've got available to us on the drum kit. Dynamic kind of balance between the limbs, sound and creativity really. This all stems from a groove I came up with where it needed to be simple, but I needed to be able to create other textures in there. I didn't want any kind of backing track stuff happening or anything else. So we're going to go into basically how it works. The first thing I'll do is I'll just play you basically the groove, okay, which is okay, so that's our groove. Now, the way it's constructed is this. Everything's very intentional, and it's to create an overall sound. And at the end, I'll tell you about the track that it's in so you can hear it for reference. Basically, it revolves around these two hi-hats. And there are a lot of different dynamics going on within that. So, for instance, my left hand is almost ghosting the hi-hat actually. I'll give you an example of that shortly. My right hand is just playing fairly stubborn quarter note accents on an eighth note pattern, but not too overbearing. The bass drum is not being hit hard at all, but the snare drum is being wellied every time I hit it, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to put a massive reverb on it. And it was a part of that whole kind of dynamic shift. What is happening that creates the texture here though is that I'm playing this hi-hat 1 on the offbeat eighth notes with my foot. And then what I'm doing is I'm filling in my right hand, I'm filling in with my left hand the offbeat 16th notes. So basically I'm playing this. Now if I take that pattern, the first thing I'll do is I'm going to move my right hand over to the hi-hat. So I'll get it going on the snare again, and then I'm going to move my right hand over to the hi-hat. Once that's there, I'm going to bring my left hand over onto my hi-hat 1 here. Okay. It's important to remember the left foot here is being very rigid and creating a very strong note, okay, because it helps set the whole thing off and anchors everything down. So I'll play it on the snare drum, then I'll move things across and you'll see how it works. I'm not playing anything different, it's just where I'm playing it. So you see when I start to move my hands around, it changes quite drastically, and we end up with something quite a nice groove actually. What we do then, okay, is we're starting to add bass drums and snare drums and all that kind of thing. Just try and remember as we go through this that it's the control of the limbs with the independence, okay, and it's then the control of the dynamics that's really setting this type of groove off. It's something that I come across a lot and we hear a lot is drummers that aren't really controlling their dynamics, inter-limb dynamics if you like. So that is bass drums are quite often a million times louder than anything else, or the snare drums killing everything else. You can hardly hear the hi-hat, or you can hear too much hi-hat. It's about thinking of yourself as a mixing desk as much as anything else. It's quite an important, it's a very important tool for the professional musician. It's not one you can really do this without. So think about it. You can come up with your own stuff in this context. I'm just presenting this because it's quite handy. It works on independence, and once you get it going, it's a nice little groove idea as well. The hi-hat, incidentally, I'm playing it as open as it is. The hi-hat's a great instrument. It's a great part. I think of it as a completely different instrument. It's a great part of a drum kit. It's a great part of what we've got at our disposal. And if you really use it properly, you need to open it and really get its full body of sound out. So let's start that on the snare drum again, and I'll put it to those two, and then I'll add the bass drum to it this time. Okay, so this is what we've got. Now when we add the bass drum, we're not going like this. Because it'd just ruin it, as you've just heard firsthand. So it really is, it's just holding it down, it's just adding a bit of bottom end kind of depth to the groove. Remember, we're thinking about this, we're building an overall picture here with this. So it's a really important part of the colour as far as this groove goes. The next thing to add is the snare drum. Now I'm playing it kind of once every bar, and you'll hear on the track that I'll use to demonstrate this with how it kind of actually works and sets the kind of music and the whole groove off anyway. And you can do what you like with it as far as placement goes, but I'm just throwing it out there. It's just how the groove was constructed. When we start adding the snare drum, I'm going to whack it, okay? So we'll start again from the snare drum, start adding things as we go, and then the last thing to be added after we've got our bass drum sitting gently will be our snare drum, okay? So So there's our groove in pretty much full swing. You can hear I'm still ghosting those hi-hats. The snare drum's big. There's no kind of arguing with it. It's saying, "Bosh, here I am." It's not really a backbeat. It's more just, again, it's another texture. It's another dynamic being put into the groove. I'll play you the part, pretty much the part with some of the kind of phrasing ideas and just kind of messing around on the kit, and you'll have a good idea of how it works. Okay, so I'll start on the snare drum again. Now, there's the part, not in its entirety. I'll do that for you in just a sec. But you'll notice I'm adding splash cymbals. There was a few open hi-hats there. I'm using cymbals that are more textural. They're more kind of effecty or better used for effects than say your simple crash. That's not knocking the crash, but you know what I'm saying. They have a completely different sound. This was something that was kind of going to be used for some surfy kind of stuff. So I really wanted to get that kind of whole vibe across. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you the excerpt of the track that this is from. If you want to download it, it's on my album. Okay, it's a track called Is Rock. It's the middle section, and I've made the middle section available for you to download without drums, and then you can download it with drums, and then you can also download the drum track on its own, so you can actually hear how it kind of all works for yourself. I hope you got something out of this session. It's been great. Enjoy it. Go well. See you next time.